What is up, guys? Dzeeff here, and for better or for worse, I was right about the Egyptian god decks. So early this morning, Konami added both of the decks to the Yu-Gi-Oh card database, so now we know all of the cards that are going to be included. And in today's video, I'm going to go through them and give my first impressions. I say I was right though because these decks are not very competitive. There are some good reprints in here, there are some decent choices, but there are also a bunch of very strange choices that I want to talk about in today's video. I kind of mentioned that in my prediction videos for these decks. I really thought that these were going to be more casual. They give you plenty of cards to build an okay casual Egyptian god deck, but you aren't going to be winning any crazy tournaments with these cards. Keep in mind, I was also correct about the fact that there are no world premiere cards in these decks. A lot of people seemed to think that world premieres might be a possibility. Not really sure why though, because they probably would have mentioned that in the blurb that they posted on the website about these decks. Anyway, so we have the Slifer deck first. We already knew about Slifer and Soul Crossing and Thunder Force Attack. Ultimate Divine Beast is not super surprising. That obviously is a Slifer trap card. And then the other two imports are Millennium Seeker and Tellus the Little Angel. Millennium Seeker makes sense, it was out of the Prismatic God box. And for the Angel card, by the way, they do have the other one in the Obelisk deck, so I guess that's how we're getting these. Makes sense, they are tribute based cards, which means that they go pretty well in a god card deck. And now that we finally have official confirmation that there are no world premieres in these decks, I think you guys can kind of understand why I didn't think they would make the god cards viable, because these are all cards we knew about from the OCG, and in the OCG the Egyptian gods are not very good even with all of this new support, but it is still pretty cool and I'm sure these will sell very well. Anyway, let's look at the reprints here. So we have some pretty strange choices coming up. Breaker the Magical Warrior, Card Guard, so those are kind of random. We have a couple different counter cards in this deck, and those aren't the only ones, by the way. We have Nine-Tailed Fox and Phantom Skyblaster, two cards that summon tokens. Beast King Barbaros is kind of random. I guess it's in there because it could be a normal summon without tributes, and it could be a 2 tribute monster, and it could even be a 3 tribute monster, so maybe this is like an extra big tribute monster for this deck. Caligo Claw Crow, I'm not really sure about this card. Wasn't this reprinted in Maximum Gold as well? Or maybe it was Ghost from the Past, I can't remember, but this card is not very impressive. Electromagnetic Turtle, kind of random. Breaker the Dark Magical Warrior, this is probably the most random card in this deck at least, kind of a strange choice. Scapegoat, that is a card I predicted. We also have kind of randomly a Layer of Darkness engine in this deck, so we have the Wicked Warden here, we have Duke Shade, and we even have the Layer of Darkness itself, obviously, so that was very surprising to see. Clock Wyvern is a card that can summon a token, I guess. Tenyi Spirit Vishuddha is kind of interesting. And finally, we have Reactor Slime. Now, this is a card I really did not think would be in either of these decks. I think I said that maybe even in both videos, but it is in here, and that's really great. This is an excellent card for any Egyptian god deck, and I'm glad they included it in this deck. I'm only a little bit surprised though, because this card has not even been out for a year yet, and I thought they wouldn't reprint it that fast. For the spell cards here, we have some pretty decent reprints. Harpies is a great reprint. Book is really good right now. Pot of Avarice can be pretty good in some decks. Econ and Swords, while they aren't super relevant in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, are pretty decent cards that have seen play in the past. Then we have March of the Monarchs Supply Squad, which I did guess would be in here. Card Advance to combo with the True Name. That combo is a pretty good way to summon Slifer if you really want to. One-time passcode, which summons a token. Layer of Darkness, like I mentioned already. Draw of Fate, I guess it draws cards. I am a little bit surprised there was no Pot of Desires. I really thought that would be in here. I thought that would be a good choice. I guess Pot of Avarice is the pot card in this deck. We also have a few trap cards here. We have Mere Force, Reckless Greed, which I believe I did guess would be in here. Metal Reflect Slime, which I believe I guessed would be in the Obelisk deck, but I think it is only in the Slifer deck. The Golden Apples, okay, it summons a token, I guess. And finally, Back to the Front. So that is the entire Slifer deck right there, and you guys can kind of see what I was talking about earlier. This is not really a structure deck in how we normally think of structure decks. It's kind of in its own category. It is definitely better than a starter deck. It does have a cohesive strategy, and it does have combos, but compared to the Sacred Beast structure deck, I mean, yeah, way less competitive. We have way more random choices, but but this will still be a great buy for any casual fan of Yu-Gi-Oh, especially someone that has always loved the Egyptian gods. This really is not meant to be a competitive deck. It is supposed to appeal to fans of the original series. Over in the Obelisk deck, we have Obelisk the Tormentor, obviously, Soul Crossing and Fist of Fate, two cards we already knew. The other imports here, we have Divine Evolution, that is the Wicked God and Egyptian God support, so that's a pretty cool card to import in here. Level Resist Wall, which I had not heard of before this announcement, and Angel 01 like I mentioned earlier. So once again here, nothing too surprising. I think in this deck we do have many 2-ofs. You'll notice that as we go through here. This unfortunately does not tell us how many of each card is in the deck, but you'll see there are plenty of cards like the Nimble Momonga that do only activate if you have more than one copy. So we have the Nimble, we have Bazoo the Soul Eater, kind of random. Cyber Dragon, that's a pretty good card. We have Hardened Armed Dragon, which does have the new text, I believe. This card is not treated as an armed dragon card, so it finally got that on there. Also a pretty good card to use with Obelisk. Pretty decent card for this deck. We have Super Nimble Mega Hamster, Random Evil Swarm because it can special summon itself, Photon Saber Tiger, very random choice, another Evil Swarm, this one even worse than this one. I have no idea why Evil Swarm Salamandra is in this deck. Ra's Disciple, which I think is a great choice. I wonder if there'll be 2 or 3 copies of this card in the deck. It seems like they already need to put at least 2 copies of Nimble Momonga in the deck, so how many 2-ofs can they realistically include? Photon Saber Tiger will likely be a 2-of as well. Then we have Unmasked Dragon, Mare, Nimble Beaver, Condemned Witch, and then 2 Gizmek reprints, which they did mention on the website. Then we have Harpy's Feather Duster again. That is really great that each deck does come with Harpy's Feather Duster. Obviously this card is really good right now, and this is an excellent reprint to have. Brain Control, unfortunately, obviously the eroded version, so this card kind of sucks, but we also have Monster Reborn, Different Dimension Capsule, not Gold Sark for some reason, Pot of Avarice, again, double summon, which probably should have been in both decks if I'm being honest. Forbidden Chalice, Lance, and Dress, pretty interesting there. Supply Squad in this one as well. And finally, Monarch Stormforth, which is a pretty good card. We also have only 3 trap cards, Call of the Haunted, Cloning, and Drowning Mere Force. Kind of a weird set of choices here once again. I don't know, Call of the Haunted makes sense, but Cloning and Drowning Mere Force seem very out of place in this deck. Overall, these decks are about as good as I thought they would be, but I'm not sure how the average player will react to this. Like I said, these are not really meant for competitive players, they are meant for casual fans, but I know from my own discussion videos about these decks, a lot of people thought for some reason that these decks would make the Egyptian gods competitively viable, and that's probably not going to happen. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about these 2 decks. Are you still going to pick them up? Are you going to get only one of them, or are you not going to get them at all? Let me know in the comment section below. I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.